In 2015, Jason Fotso wrote the poem Refuge, which is a poem inspired by the civil war crisis in Syria and the refugees emigrating into USA. The author wrote the poem in such a way that you can read it normally and also backwards to get two different poems with two different messages. In my opinion, the theme of the poem is global problems, and the message of the poem is to change how people view refugees. I will start by analyzing the poem read normally. The poem starts with the sentence, "Turn away the refugees. We will not open up our homes and hearts for children. Close our doors on the weak." In these sentences, we understand that the poem is negative towards letting refugees into a country, and tells about how we should even turn away children, that we should close our doors on the weak, which in this case is the refugees. The next sentences are, "Only fear behind our love can put strength in our hands. We cannot let them bleed into our nation. They share the blood of our enemy. Our own are endangered by the refugees." The poem now seems to be written with sort of fear, and the author seems to be worried that the refugees will bleed into our nation and influence the country in a bad way. We are also told that they share the blood of our enemy, which means that the author sees the refugees as enemies. Furthermore, the poem goes, "We have forgotten the words that the Statue of Liberty shines. In this darkest hour, terror stands stronger than our people of power. This fear conquers the home of the brave. The Statue of Liberty symbolizes freedom, and that everyone is welcome in America. According to the poem, these words have been forgotten." So that was the normal way of reading the poem, and I will now read it backwards. "The home of the brave conquers fear. The power of our people stands stronger than terror. In this darkest hour, the Statue of Liberty shines the words that we have forgotten. Refugees are endangered by our own enemy. They share the blood of our nation. We cannot let them bleed into our hands. Strength in our love can put our fear behind. Only the weak close our doors on children. For our homes and hearts open up. We will not turn away the refugees." When reading the poem backwards, you can clearly notice the change in attitude towards refugees. As an example, the poem now says, "They share the blood of our nation," instead of "They share the blood of our enemy." As I have now explained, the poem is based on contrast and form, by having a major difference in the message based on which way you read the poem. The poem also utilizes the literary device allusion. It utilizes the literary device allusion by mentioning the Statue of Liberty. Allusion means to hint at someone or something famous. This literary device helps with creating a familiar feeling for the reader while reading the poem. As I mentioned, the theme of the poem, in my opinion, is global problems. Even though this poem was written 7 years ago, it is still very relevant today. There is still a big refugee crisis in the world, and it's important, and it's as important as ever to listen to the message of the poem. Personally, I think the most interesting part of the poem is how the author chose to write it, by giving it very different messages depending on which way you read it.